What's going on, everyone? This is Cadman Cycling. Welcome back to the channel. Here we are for stage 3 of Race Makuri. So stages 1 and 2 out of the way. Those were both on the old Makuri Islands routes. 1 was castle to castle, and then 2 was chain chomper. Stage 3 takes us to one of the new Urukazi map routes. So the new map was just released about a week ago at this point. So this is the turf and surf route, one of the 8 new routes, 24.6 kilometers, just barely under 200 meters of elevation gain. Starts in Neokyo and then takes us out to the new map. So should be a fun one. Like I said, it's always exciting to try out new routes, new places. This new Urukazi map has 8 new routes and I believe it's 40 miles of new roads. So a lot to explore, and this is really the first time I've had a chance to ride in Urukazi. So I took about the last week off the bike, was actually traveling out of town, so didn't get any kind of exercise in, but we'll see how fresh I feel. I think 1 week off the bike shouldn't take away too much of my training that I'd done the past few weeks, so we'll see. If anything, I should feel some fresh legs for this one. It's a pretty big group, so stage 3, this is just category C riders here, but there's 72 of us. This was the 5:10 time slot, which I've kind of gotten used to riding in. It works perfectly after work for me. Usually gets pretty decent size packs as well, so 72 of us here, almost a kilometer in, just kind of getting this front group situated. As I fall to the back here, it looks like I'm in 42nd, 43rd place. So more than half still with the front group after the start. Makes for a really big front pack. So the first 5 or so kilometers are all through Neokyo. That's when we make our way to Urukazi. It's pretty flat the first half, but then the very end of the ride, the last 5K or so, is where a lot of the elevation comes in. So pretty far into the ride, we'll still be sitting under 100 meters of climbing. And then about 2 kilometers out is where we really hit that steep section to the end. So not much happened. Went ahead and skipped forward. Now we're at 8.2 kilometers. This is where a break kind of starts to form. We can see it starting to get strung out a little bit. Not a whole lot was happening early on, so skipped through that, but kind of once we get into Urukazi, there's some uphills and downhills. So we're actually coming into the first downhill section, and I was able to take the advantage here in Super Tuck anytime the speed gets up over 57 kilometers per hour and the grade is -3% or lower, is when you're able to Super Tuck, which means you can completely stop turning the pedals and take advantage of the extra draft. So I'll go ahead and do that as often as possible. My heart rate was pretty high early on. It was in around 180, 182, 185, which was kind of concerning for me because this pack wasn't really pushing too hard, but my heart rate was staying high. So had a high heart rate today. So spent most of the middle of the race kind of doing everything I could to get that down. Again, we're up here at 180, but on a downhill section. So I'm going to do everything here that I can to just sit in the middle of this pack and do as little work as possible. As you can see, my rider gets into a Super Tuck. I was kind of surprised, and it's probably just because this is a new route, but it doesn't look like a lot of other riders took advantage of that. But anytime that I can jump into a Super Tuck and not pedal and let myself rest, even if it's for just a few seconds at a time, I'll take advantage of it. A lot of times my heart rate, once it gets high, it kind of stays high. But whenever I stop pedaling, it can recover pretty quickly. So we can see we already moved from about 182 beats per minute a minute ago to now we're below 170. So extremely helpful there. Legs are feeling all right. Pretty strong, actually. Still only at 38 meters of climbing. So we're coming up on almost halfway into this race, and it's been pretty flat. So really gearing up towards the climbing at the end. So like I said, stage 3. Stage 1 was a fun one. There were a lot of YouTubers who turned out for the race that I was in. Ended up getting 3rd place. Averaged, I think it was 2.9 watts per kilogram. Came down to a big sprint finish at the end, which I got 3rd in. Stage 2, not quite as successful. I ended up in 12th place on Zwift Power. It was a shorter route, just about 16 or 18 kilometers. So averaged 3.1 watts per kg. And now we're in stage 3. So want to see what I can do here. See if I can improve upon my finish in stage 2 and see if I can get towards that podium. I know going into it, I'm really not much of a climber. So whenever I can kind of just stay in a large pack for a sprint finish, those are the races that really benefit me more. So I like flat, especially when it comes to the finish. This route is mostly flat, which was nice, but knowing that there's the climb at the end isn't quite as conducive to my riding. So we'll go ahead and skip forward. I was able to get the heart rate down during all of those super tucks, but now it's immediately back up. We're kind of hitting crunch time now. There's 3 kilometers left. And I'll just let it play out. This is really where some of the climbing and elevation starts. It's still a pretty large front group. It's not the same 40 plus that we started with, as there were some undulations that we were losing riders on. But really, this is the group we have left with under 2 miles left now, going uphill. So we do also have Brendan cycling here. It's been kind of fun the last couple of weeks. We've joined. This is the 3rd race together. So I got him the first 2 times, but I know he's a lighter weight rider, so this race should suit him a bit more. So I'm kind of marking him because I know that if he's making a move, it's probably the right move, and I want to be able to stick with him if I can. So heart rate's getting higher, 189 beats per minute. The goal here is pretty similar to the goal throughout most of the race, is just sit in the middle of the pack. I really don't want to be on the front working, but at the same time, whenever the grade gets above 5%, you kind of lose the effect of the draft a little bit. So if anything, knowing it's closer to the end of the race, I do want to be a bit more towards the front of the pack if I can, just so once it gets strung out, or once kind of that group starts to form on the front, that I don't get caught behind a split. But this is where I'm really starting to hurt. So heart rate's up to 190, pushing over 300 watts. Definitely not something that's sustainable for me, even for the 2 kilometers that we have left. So it's getting really strung out. We have a few leaders off the front. The mini map on the top right looks like it's zoomed in a little bit, so we can't get the full picture, but definitely a pretty big snake that we have forming here. And I'm just kind of continuing to drop back in this group. It's tough. Heart rate's high. Watts are pretty high. So really, I'm just giving it everything I have left at this point with only 2 kilometers left. There's really no use in saving anything for the finish. I want to put in everything that I possibly can. So again, still with this biggest pack here. So I'm not too upset with my positioning. It's really just I'm giving it everything I have here. I know there's not going to be anything left in the tank for a sprint at the end. This is Brendan cycling in that yellow jersey just passing me. So I know that he's a lighter rider. He's better at climbing. So whenever I see him start to make a move, I'll try to jump on with it if I can. I just remember I was kind of up over the handlebars, trying to give it everything I have left. This one definitely had to dig deep in this race. So what looked originally like a pretty flat course, really when you put the majority of the climbing at the end, that completely changes the dynamics of the race. So as a sprinter who looks for a group finish, this wasn't ideal for me, but again, I'm really trying to broaden my horizons in Zwift. Last year did mostly Crit City races, which I got used to. Those are kind of like 20-minute FTP tests. And that was more kind of my specialty, or what I was better at. actually Zwift kind of, I don't think they got rid of them, but they don't offer those Crit City races as much anymore, which is actually good for me to get away, learn some of the new maps, get better at kind of all styles of rides. So kind of positioning myself here in, it's really not a group. At this point, we have riders off the front 10 seconds ahead. So with less or a little over a kilometer left, I'm not really in position to win this one anymore, but with it being so strung out, I still do have a chance to contest possibly a podium or at least a top 10. But man, I'm hurting. Heart rate still, it's 192, kind of 193. It's been sitting around there for the last kilometer or so, which just isn't sustainable for me. So I know I'm seeing how much I can get out of the legs and the lungs at this point. But yeah, hopefully rides like this make me a better rider. It's always fun trying new routes. Urukazi looks like a pretty cool map. So I believe stage 3 and then also stage 4 are supposed to be on new Urukazi routes. There's 8 of them. This was Turf and Surf started in Neokyo. Had that fun little climb at the end. It's actually pretty flat from here to the finish. So fun trying new routes. So here we go, 700 meters left. Kind of find myself in this group of, it's 6 riders. Brendan Cycling just so happens to be here too. There's a couple riders about 4 seconds ahead. Looks like this is about the 12th to 17th place group. So that's really what I'm gonna be contesting. I know from this point it's gonna come down to a sprint finish with at least the 6 of us. We'll see if we can push and catch the group in front. I know I don't have it. I see Brendan Cycling has an aero boost, starts to put it down, so I immediately push down on the pedals. I have to. He made the first move. If I want any chance to get in his draft, I really have to put down everything now. Under 200 meters, 100 meters, it looks like he's just a little too far out in front. I really give it everything I have to the line to get as close as possible, but maybe 50 more meters and I would have caught him, but he got me this time. Man, that was a fun race. Looking back at it, it was fun. I guess in the moment, it was a lot of suffering, but really trying to get better. This didn't have what it took to stay with the front group this time, but that kind of last couple kilometers, I hope really made me a stronger rider. So guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging in there. It was nice to get back on the bike. Man, even just a week away, and I really missed the Zwift racing. So I'll get back into it. I'll continue making videos. And guys, if you like these videos, please do hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out as a creator. But until next time, this is Cadman Cycling, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.